Yeah,
It's a series, a lot of streaks going on. It is Friday, March 15th. Saturday, and then Sunday is St. Patrick's Day. So we don't do a Sunday show. So happy St. Patrick's Day, everybody.
Do you do
Scotch
anything
Irish.
for? I kind of rocked a little green, like a preview green.
See, I'm wearing.
Oh, you
green.
wore that for the Savants.
No, that's a new shirt. It's another one I got from Acres down south out at Hewlett and Dunn Boot and Clothing Company on the historic square in Collierville, Tennessee.
Oh, it looks similar.
It's green. It's camo. It's a different camo that they have out there. But
see you. Where are you, Rob?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Are you there?
Yeah.
Camo back into the background.
Right here. But it is Friday, March 15th. Get out today. A lot going on. A lot of basketball to watch. Want to thank all of our sponsors. People like the Vitamin Shop. If you struggle in the morning with your waking up, get to the Vitamin Shop. They've got supplements for working out, shot blocks, goo, probiotics, energy, diet, lifestyle. They have people that know what they're doing. Olive Branch in Oxford, Mississippi, the Vitamin Shop. Check them out on the QR code right there. Justin Ross, Matt Price, great team. Proud to have them as a sponsor, as we are. Chad House, ECS House Industries. Follow them, houseindustriesinc.com. It is planting season right now. The better roller, the pulverizer, the better chopper, the aerators for the catfish farms, wastewater management treatment, houseindustriesinc.com, located in Cherry Valley, Arkansas, with a worldwide reach. Breaking ground is their motto. So let's get started. A lot to talk about. We'll be right back. Start in the Players Club with Telly Savalas, Dave Tompkins, down in Ponte Vedra, Florida, after this.
Right, but don't forget to smash the subscribe button down there in the bottom right-hand corner of your screen. Helps us continue to bring this star-studded content for you.
And we appreciate you doing it because a lot of you are doing it, and we are nothing without our viewers and our followers and our executive producer and our great guests. So crank it up, smash the subscribe button, bottom right-hand corner, smash it, smash it, smash it.
Sidelines with Rob Browne. Talk sporty to me.
All right, Rob Browne here in Memphis. Frank Duffy. Oh, my God. Where did he get that from? Luther Vandross?
I love it.
Oh, Dave Tompkins. Dave Tompkins. I mean, look at this. Dave Tompkins in Ponte Vedra, Florida, at the Players Club. You know, Players Club International, Tahoe, Reno, Vegas, Atlantic City, the Caribbean. Who loves you, baby? Telly.
Who loves you,
Dave,
baby?
Remember that?
Telly had a little cameo role in Godfather 2 when they almost killed Frank Pentangeli. Telly was right in the bar where the Rosado brothers tried to take Pentangeli out.
Wow, you went deep there.
Yeah, the risotto.
Wow.
I love to cook risotto. It's great with fish and venison, mushroom risotto. But let's get cranking up, Dave. I know you've only got a few minutes before you got to get to the golf course. Frank, I don't know where you are. You're in your own universe right there. That outfit is unbelievable. But I'm going to St. Patrick's Day. He's in New Orleans, and he'll be walking through the quarter tomorrow for the parade. So, Dave, let's talk about what's going on down there where you are.
Yeah, so for today's round number 2, round number 1 was really exciting. We were sort of like another movie reference, Zelig, the Woody Allen movie. We were at all the right places. We were on 17 at the Island Green for Ryan Fox's hole-in-one. We witnessed that. We were on number 7 when there was a pretty spicy rules controversy. McIlroy hit his ball in the water, and his two playing partners, Jordan Spieth and Victor Hovland, were kind of disputing Ryan's call on where he could take his drop. And McIlroy defended himself in the press conference after the round, but Jordan Spieth and Victor Hovland refused to speak to the media. So that's kind of a little controversy here right now. We're just a little bit north of Brenden, and so as he knows, it's beautiful weather. I think going up to 85 here today. So a little bit of golf, and then get home in time for Texas A&M, Kentucky, and then Florida, Bama.
Yeah, going to be this SEC tournament is starting off great. Frank Duffy, jump in here.
I just wanted
what
to get
an
a little,
outfit! I
just
absolutely
wanted to
love
see
it.
the outfit there and get really close for you.
Honestly, when you first came on, I thought he was Luther Campbell from the U days of Miami. I'm sorry.
Absolutely.
Did you realize Miami's colors are the same colors as the Irish flag? I never thought about that.
That's true.
Not.
That's true.
Yeah.
I never thought about that either. Yeah, last 2 years I did the Savant Saturday show, walking down to the start of the Irish St. Patrick's Day parade. In fact, I even did a rendition of Danny Boy halfway along the way when I found some other Irishmen on the way down. But it's a lot of fun here. New Orleans does three great springtime, if you will, festivals or celebrations. Easter is very big here in New Orleans. The formality of New Orleans, it's a big thing here. The St. Patrick's Day parade absolutely rivals Chicago and Savannah in the celebration. It's fabulous. It is in the Irish Channel, which was the area where all the immigrants came into New Orleans. In the Irish area. So it is in the historic part of town. And of course, we've got all of our jazz festivals, French Quarter Festival and stuff. So it's never a bad time to be here. We always find a way to celebrate something, right?
Yes.
But it is a wonderful weekend where me and my fellow Mix go hit the streets and march. And I use the term march loosely because there's a lot of let's just say lubrication on the ride and on the walk. And some of us don't actually enter back to where the ending is. We kind of lose way somewhere along the way. So
let me just say, Frank, Memphis did it right. We used to do it in Overton Square. It was called the pub crawl. They were honest about it. It was a pub crawl. We were in high school back when we started that. Dave, let me ask you something. You watched a lot of basketball like we all did last night. Texas A&M, I think they're 5-6 in quad one wins. I don't know if that's a quad one win over Ole Miss last night, but I think A&M and Mississippi State are both in. Wouldn't y'all agree?
Yes. Ben.
Yeah, I think Mississippi State's in for sure. I think that's a no-brainer. That's a lock, and I think A&M has worked their way in as well. I mean, obviously, if they beat Kentucky today, they're definitely in. But game coaches and stuff. Buzz Williams he can coach, and he can definitely coach in March.
Yeah, Dave. And I know you got just a few minutes, but tonight's matchups. Let's talk about them. You think you're going to – I don't use the term upset really anymore. Not in the SEC. Not when the 14th picked team preseason, South Carolina, finishes in a tie for second.
Yeah. I think all the games today are compelling. I mean, all four of them. I think Mississippi State can give Tennessee a fight, and Tennessee may already be looking ahead to next week. So, it would not surprise me at all if Mississippi State wins. I think South Carolina Auburn's going to be a great game.
Yeah.
The Florida game, it was a great game. That last game where Florida almost beat them on the floor in Tuscaloosa. I'm excited about watching that game. I think that's going to be a battle.
Yeah, I'm really excited about. I think the Florida Alabama game is really a sneak preview to how they're going to do next week. I think that Florida's great guards, and if they prevail today, I think that's a sort of a precursor to some success starting next week in the big dance. Conversely, if Alabama wins and they're hitting their threes and playing the NATO system, maybe they're going to win some games next week. I think Kentucky either blows out Texas A&M or Texas A&M wins close and grinds one out.
Guys, I'll throw this one at you, Frank. Does anybody downplay the significance of the SEC tournament more than John Calipari, but he's also in Kentucky have won the SEC tournament more than anybody. Is that a good way to look at it?
I would think that's a fair statement. Calipari, he's a slippery one. He really is. He's in that Patino mold. I mean,
Yep.
He says one thing, does another. But look, make no mistake about it. When the Cats pull in and there's blue everywhere in town at the SEC tournament, they want one objective: to slay everybody. That is in their DNA. And even at a Kentucky football game, they'll jaw at you about basketball. This is their. I'll do a little New Orleans French for you. They're raison d'etre. This is why they are here. This is what they do. They might say it's not important, but their goal is to cut down the nets at every tournament that they're in. They're just wired different than the rest of us.
Yeah.
Especially at this time of year.
Because they've always sucked at football.
Yeah.
I
shouldn't say that. They've had Florida's number.
I apologize profusely, but I think the problem just underscored the real thing this week or this weekend is that there are a lot of teams still alive in other conference tournaments that would otherwise never get an at-large bid.
Yeah.
So if that trend continues and some of these teams win their conference tournament, that could really upset the apple cart. I think that's one of the real big sort of undercurrent stories the next couple of days.
Yeah.
I'll be shocked if we don't get 8 teams. Because by the way, Dave, before you go, Tiger Air, we were shipping some of the Tiger Air Zephyrs that go on the golf cap bills to some of the caddies. See if you can some of them using them out there. Tiger Air, all the caddies. Hopefully they're using them.
I will report. Expect a report and see you guys next Friday. This is awesome.
Hey, love it. Have a great time, Dave.
Hey, thanks for the invite, Dave. I'm only a couple hours away. Appreciate it. I'm good. I'm fine here in the studio alone by myself.
Hey, Brenden, we've got to address the elephant in the room. I already see the questions over here. I don't think Frank can see them. From T the problem. I love this guy. Is Frank a Miami Hurricanes fan? Because the problem, there are a lot of Gators that watch this show, a lot of fans of every SEC school. Frank, I'll let you address that because it needs to be addressed.
Look, let me tell you, I am absolutely not a Miami fan because I was down leaning over the tunnel in the Peach Bowl of 2005 when LSU and Miami players had a absolute melee brawl in the tunnel of the old Georgia Dome in the Peach Bowl. I can assure you I am not a Miami Hurricanes fan.
Yeah.
But I can still see like 3 of the battles, the skirmishes, because when we were leaning over, they have the porticos, but they were covered with like that vinyl cover, so you can't see. So you could only look down in the crevice to watch. And the game was kind of, we blew them out. So a lot of people left. So a lot of people kind of went down to that area. And when all hell broke loose down in the tunnel of that game, every LSU fans were like looking down in the tunnel, cheering on the Tigers as they were waxing guys in there. It was a brawl. So no, I am not a Miami Hurricanes fan. I'm just an Irish guy with a shirt.
What year was this?
I love that shirt.
2005.
Yeah, 2005.
Yeah.
Well, who will ever forget the 1990 Cotton Bowl? Miami had 247 yards in penalties. I think people have forgotten about that. They've forgotten about that little episode, but that one was that was insane that year. And I go back, Frank, that's the coolest shirt. I don't know where you got it, but Browne with an E. Ben Troop was talking the other day about his name, Troop with an E, Troopy. Who put it? He goes, I don't know. Talk to my ancestors. How about Browne with an E? If I had $1 for every time somebody had said, Mr. Brownie, no, it's Brown. The E is silent. Mr. Silent E, no, it's Brown. The E, but the 14 tribes of Galway, Browne with an E, Lynch, Gallagher, Murphy, Walsh, all these are friends of mine. I mean, there was a Lynch. Hugh Christopher Lynch is one of my best friends. He is the 16th. There was a Lynch who was the mayor of Galway for 84 straight years. If you go to Roundstone and Clifton out on the West Coast where all my people are from, you'll see Browne with an E everywhere. But there's only about 35,000 of them in America because old man Browne got somebody to look it up years ago, and they came in when the potato crop went south.
Sure.
And
as many of us did.
Yeah, and I rode around on horseback in the 12 pins of Ireland out on the West Coast one time.
That's
and
cool.
It rains about 6 times a day. And you get up in those mountains, Frank, and you see what those people lived in. 40 plus million Americans are of Irish descent. Sure. I mean, the Scotch Irish, that's what I am. We all came in here together, but that's those are some tough ass people.
And especially on the West Coast, because what's is the rough, rugged area over there. Our family is from Derry in the north. Notice I didn't say Londonderry, I said Derry.
That's right.
Way the Republic pronounces it, during the Troubles. But over on that West Coast, a lot of our family came from that area. Duffy is a very common Irish name. It's the 7th most populous surname in Ireland. And my great grandfather James Duffy came over in the Irish potato famine, and back then you basically picked 4 ports. You picked New York, Boston, Savannah, or New Orleans. Those were your options. Those were the 4 ports. And a lot of the Irish came here to New Orleans. They were all your working class. It was your firemen, your policemen, your civic servants, because that was their way to get into society. And now, like the Brenden family and my friends here, a lot of them went into the restaurant and hospitality business. We work both sides of the law here very well. Some of the biggest gangs in New Orleans, the first gangs were the Irish. It was not the Italians. So there were a lot of Sicilians here. It was really the Irish gangs, the hooligans as they called them. And so we have a very rich history with the part of the city that's called the Irish Channel, and it's called the Irish Channel because it was the part of the river where the ships, when they would leave off, a lot of the Irish came over because they needed ballast on the ships, but they could send cargo back to England and Great Britain. So they would pick up the Irish on the way over, and the reason that they would bring them there is the city said there was no good goods coming off of the Irish boats. So we're going to send them past the wharf to the bend in the river. And that was where the Irish Channel was. It wasn't the official wharf. They basically put planks and made them walk into the city.
Well, you're right.
That's where they settled.
It really is cool because you think about the Irish, the Scotch Irish influence in America. Read the book by former U.S. Senator, former Navy Secretary under Ronald Reagan, James Webb. He was a Democrat senator from Virginia, but he wrote a book. I recommend everybody get a copy of this called Born Fighting. It's the history of the Scotch Irish in America. And on the front cover is Andrew Jackson, George Washington, Ronald Reagan, George Patton. It is just a who's who of famous Americans. You could also put on there F. Scott Fitzgerald. I mean, so many. But anyway, we're the Irish, the luck of the Irish. We talk about that all the time. And by the way, where did you get that shirt? Because I don't know, Hewlett and Dunn doesn't have those. Where'd you get it?
So it's kind of funny. So I wound up, Scott Alexander, who I do his television show here every now and again. It's a television sports show. So I work with Scott. My good buddy Joe Douglas from Memphis.
Yep.
Okay, Jolton Joe Douglas. And my buddy Lester Mitz. We wound up, this was, I guess, 2 or 3 years ago, went out to Vegas for the first 2 rounds of the NCAA. Yeah. And we love going out there and doing it. We used to do it when we were younger, before we had kids and obligations and blah, blah. Well, we said, you know what? We're making a road trip out there. So I literally bought this to sit in the sports book where we were and in the Bellagio. And this is how I watched March Madness a couple of years ago. because the first day of March Madness, if you remember that year, it was that Thursday. So this is how I kicked off the tournament, sitting there with this shirt. Now, I wish I could say the luck of the Irish did well that day. I think I probably only cashed about 5 of my 20 tickets. But it was
you tried. It's
not the lack of attempt.
That's right. Hey, Mitch Davis is going to join us here in a few minutes. He is in Nashville. And I'm going to tell you what, no, I don't know many people that work as hard as this kid. 27 years old. He's been to over 500 college football, basketball, baseball games the last 5 years. And that number continues to rise.
That's in 5 years?
Yeah. And Doug Dean will be on with us in a minute. Doug's got an issue there in Birmingham. And we wanted to get Bucky McMillan on here, but that job he's done at Samford has been a lot of fun to watch. But I'm going to tell you, looking at the SEC, Matt McMahon, 3rd year to get the Tigers to 500. Basically, the program got the death penalty when Will Wade was forced out over at McNeese now, and he's having a lot of success there.
Hell of a year. It's crazy. I mean, look, he was never not a good coach. You could tell Will Wade was a good coach. He just liked skating on the wrong side of the line too much. And look, in this day and age, you can't do that stuff. And you sure as hell, hey, look, what's the old saying? Hey, it's one thing to do it. You got, like Lee Marvin said in the Dirty Dozen, you just let somebody see you do it. Well, he let somebody hear him do it. He was on tape. Well, dude, when they got hard evidence, you're done, right? I'm shocked. I'm shocked he did the Les Miles and weaseled out another season out of it, honestly. Yeah. But McMahon's doing it the right way. John Brady, our good buddy who's on here all the time, is a huge backer of Mac. Look, I was disappointed in the performance yesterday. We were up at halftime. I really thought they were going to win that game. I could kind of see an issue in the Missouri game. I was in Cabo, but I was listening to the game, and the Tigers, were down by like 7 early in that game, went up by 18, and then just kind of lost their focus. I know this because I was giving up 7, but they lost their focus, only wound up winning by 2. And I was like, man, this is not the mojo you want going into the SEC tournament.
No.
Yeah.
So I was kind of worried about that role that we were on when we beat South Carolina and Kentucky, and we blew out Vandy. You could just see it ebbing away, man. And so, but look, we're going to. I put my right hand on a chopping block. We're going to be in the NIT. We might be able to make a little run in there, make some noise, but it's a building block effect. But what he got inherited was as bad as what Brian Kelly got when we had 30, scholarship people in the bowl game against Kansas
37.
State. Yeah. Kansas State trucked us, and I was dying to get them. I didn't want Wisconsin. I wanted Kansas State in that bowl game last year. We'd have beat them by 100. But that that the work that he's done to build this nucleus of a team, even though I'm disappointed that we didn't show up well yesterday, Tiger basketball fans are very happy with the trajectory that our program is on. And look, for as little wins as we got in the SEC last year, to have as many as we have this year, which I think we ended with 9, was, that was a huge improvement over where he found the program.
Yeah, no, it really is. And I love John Brady, a native, proud son of Macomb, Mississippi, home of Franz Beard lived there. Franz is good friends with John Brady. And I'm going to tell you something. I love
about Brady playing ball when he was in high school.
Yeah, Franz is one of the coolest people that I've gotten to know, and he's a big part of this show. Love that guy. He is on another level intellectually, and his relationships that he's had over the years, and then he can take that and he can make it funny. You ought to, hey, folks, subscribe to GatorbaitMedia.com. Every morning, it's show prep. If you got a show, read his daily thoughts and one final pithy thought. Whether you're a Gator, you love the SEC, you just love college athletics, you need to be reading what he says. I like this. Will Wade has prospered under light supervision out in McNeese. Look, the one thing you got to love about Louisiana, because I've worked with a lot of people over the years, I've had a lot of clients down there. One of them told me he was an attorney down there. He said, Rob, what you got to understand about Louisiana is we like to have a lot of fun. He goes, half the state's underwater and the other half is under indictment. So it's a lot of fun.
I love the laws.
There are no laws or rules down here. They're just suggestions.
Well, they're Napoleonic law. That's it's a different. But I love Louisiana. My great-great-grandfather was the first Episcopal bishop down there, lived in Thibodaux for about 20 years, and brought the Episcopal Church down there. Of course, now I'm Catholic, but same, very, very similar. But I always tell people being Episcopalian and becoming a Catholic is like you were in the Navy. Now you're trying to be a Navy SEAL. I mean, there's a lot that goes with the Catholic, not to mention the guilt people talk about. It's not guilt. It's like just follow your responsibilities. By the way, Frank, don't even think about eating any meat today. It is Friday and Lent.
You just need to hang out with us Presbyterians. We drink and eat.
I went to a Presbyterian high school. We couldn't even have a prom. We had a banquet.
Yeah, they're rough on the under 18, but then afterwards you get cleared out when you become adult.
I went kindergarten through 6th grade Presbyterian day school, chapel every day. It was awesome. 7th and 8th grade Episcopalian, and then Christian Brothers High School with the LaSallian Brothers, Catholic, 4 straight years, and everybody attended Mass, Catholic or not.
Oh, yeah.
Because inside of every one of you is a Catholic trying to get out. But
hey, I ran into my good buddy Monsignor Chris Nulty last night at Clancy's, a really cool neighborhood restaurant, 5-star restaurant, just in the area in Uptown. In fact, Cooper Manning drove up to pick up his wife, and some of her friends were having dinner there. So he came. So I was bullshitting with him out on the corner, 8:30 at night when he drove up. Right, talking about how much my son had fun at the Manning Pass Academy in Thibodaux when he was there, and I was about to regale him on the time when my son was there when they kicked out Johnny Manziel for all his bad actions. When Archie summoned him, made him come sit in the golf cart with Archie, and then dismissed him. I mean, they sent him on. But I ran into Monsignor Nulty. He was actually stationed at the Vatican for like 10 years and way high up, and then he's come back to New Orleans, as many of us do. Look, those of us that have left, I'm in Atlanta for 28 years, but the pull is strong to come back. So, we have a lot of great, Catholic and Irish roots here. I won't get on my soapbox. There's issues that need to be addressed. Big ones. But for the most part, it is a very big Catholic, Irish Catholic, city here. Miss Benson does a lot of great works. In fact, I was out near the cemeteries yesterday and saw Mr. Benson's, big crypt. Of course, all of our cemeteries are above ground. When I was out there, I didn't know where it was, and somebody mentioned, "Oh, there's Mr. Benson," and there were the fleur-de-lis that were around. I mean, it's just, it's a unique city. We have a very unique, association with religion, but we also have a very wild association with our dearly departed, right? Yeah. And there's spirits floating all around this place. And look, my apartment here in the Pentaba, where I'm sitting right now, that was built in the 1840s by Baroness Pentaba. Dude, there's spooks all around this place. It's spook central, like they said in Ghostbusters. And look,
Gozar.
And look, and
Gozar.
And my buddy Dickie Brennan's place right across the street in Tableau. Go YouTube it. Look up Ghost in the Wine Cellar. There's like a porter that's up there, cleaning at night, and all of a sudden bottles start flying off the shelves for like no apparent reason. YouTube it. It's real around here.
I've taken ghost tours in New Orleans. The first time I get to New Orleans is that all the cemeteries are above because of the sea level thing. They would float away. I think about Gozar and the Ghostbusters. Let's get Mitch Davis on here.
I'm going to have to cut you both off and bring in Mitch so we can talk some sports.
Yeah.
Oh, now he's gone. Now Mitch left. He was a ghost. Now he's gone.
Mitch is going to be on here in just a second.
Come back, buddy. I tried to talk
thinking
to you.
about this. That's why New Orleans, Brenden gets to host the Super Bowl in the Final Four.
Why?
Is because
the ghost?
you can walk everywhere around the Superdome. wherever they have events in the French Quarter. And I mean, when you go there, New Orleans, there, and I don't care. I've been to a lot of places around the world. There is no better food city on earth. When you come across the interstate before you cross Lake Pontchartrain, just stop at Mittendorf's, okay? Places like that. And then La Uzi's there, these Italian restaurants. And New Orleans is the greatest food city in the history of the world. Well,
Giacomo's is the best restaurant.
Very good. Absolutely.
You got to get off the beaten path. You got to get out of Bourbon Street. You got to go down. You want to go to Giacomo's.
That's right.
And sit on outside, and you can sit on the back of the pickup where the table is, or go inside and get some gator, because it's the only place you can get gator pie. And I've been there about 150 times. I used to go to New Orleans probably 30 times a year for work. I love Giacomo's. Once you get a local that takes you to the right spots, you stop getting off the crap corporate food that they're like, like Emerald's got his crappy restaurant there. They've all got a crappy restaurant, but you got to go in and get the good stuff. Let's bring in Mitch Davis here right off the top. You liked that I went deep there, Frank, with Giacomo's.
I like that. Hey, I like that. And by the way, one of the greatest nights in Florida fans' history was in New Orleans beating Florida State.
In the rematch.
I was there. I was in the hotel recording audio when they got in because of what's his name, the quarterback,
Werfel.
But the whole was it Arizona State had to beat somebody to get in for Florida and Florida State to be the Natty, right? So who did it was it Jake who was the quarterback?
Jake the Snake Plummer. Snake Plummer.
Yeah. So and then they win out of nowhere, and then the Hilton, I think it's the Hilton or the Hyatt right next to the Superdome. That place was going nuts, like people streaming toilet paper off the side of the deal. That's the best. That's where you want to stay, because you see the dome as you go down the elevator.
Yeah, you can't beat New Orleans. Let's bring in Mitch Davis, who's in the Witness Protection Program. Mitch, can you turn on the lights?
Mitch, are you there?
Mitch, are you there?
Mitch.
Yeah, Mitch, we have no.
Mitch, how much do you like me? I love you. Oh, thank you very much, Mitch. Go Gators. I love the Gators. Oh wait, Mitch, he's coming in over here. Hold on, let's try. He's on my back channel.
There we go.
Mitch, come in, Mitch.
Mitch, you look like guys? How are y'all? You look like you were in the Witness Protection Program.
I want to talk about the SEC tournament.
With that dark, now we got some light. Look, James Browne is known as the hardest working man in show business. Mitch Davis is the hardest working young reporter that I know. He's up there. I put him up there in the category with Jason Caldwell, and over 500 college football, basketball, baseball games the last 5 years. Proud native son of Memphis, Tennessee. Lives in New Albany, the top of the SIP, as they call it. He's covering Mississippi State. Ole Miss is out. Mississippi State's in. By the way, I picked Mississippi State to win that game yesterday. But, Mitch, you're in Nashville. I'm still here in Memphis. I'm going to try to get there. We got a bunch of stuff I'm dealing with. Talk about what you've seen so far and what we're about to see today.
Guys, I appreciate y'all having me. Hopefully you can hear me. Hopefully you can see me. Wi-Fi's been terrible all weekend, so I'm currently trying to download the Ole Miss press conference from last night. The SEC tournament's weird, man. You would think with the conference that makes all this money, we would have fiber optics on press row to make our job easier.
No,
but we haven't had that. Hotel Wi-Fi, you would think that a place like an Embassy Suites would have really good Wi-Fi. Well, they don't. So I'm kind of I'm on my phone right now. So
you look good and you sound great, young man. And let me tell you, welcome to being at a big tournament, because this is how it is. And the SEC has no interest. By the way, this is a whole nother topic. They have no interest in helping the press. None of these people help the press. That's what you have to understand. They want one tripod. They get one tripod in the room for the press conferences. You take a feed or you download from the SEC tournament, and you've got and then you've got to go through all their deals to get like certain levels of media credential pass. You might be in you might get credentialed to the tournament, but you're in like the the D room that's like underneath like the third level, and like you're watching on a feed with like some Chick-fil-A. Like you're not out there on the court. Like that's the deal.
You know what this is called? Not having better Wi-Fi. You're tripping over $1 to save a penny.
Yeah, and really, truthfully, the whole overall experience has been wonderful. It's great. We'll talk about basketball, but that's why I was late, guys, is I was trying to get connected to Wi-Fi at the hotel, because I know once I get to Bridgestone that if I try to download anything, it's going to take 6 hours.
Forget about it.
Well, you got to get on. You got to get that good You got to get that good media Wi-Fi, and that's where you got to get up to the press box. You get up to the press box, you got to plug in. Dude, I'll give you my top 10 ways to get Wi-Fi in these places. We'll talk later.
But guys, I'm doing well. It's going to be a hell of a day of basketball. Obviously, Mississippi State, Tennessee. A lot of talk. Can the Bulldogs do it again? The Bulldogs beat Tennessee on January 5th in Starkville at the Hump. Can they do it again? I think they can. It's going to be a challenge. Here's what Tennessee has against them. One, they pretty much already locked up a 1 or 2 seed in the NCAA tournament. They're not really playing for a whole lot in the SEC tournament, because if you stay here till Sunday, you're not going to get that rest for the NCAA tournament. And ultimately, teams like Tennessee, like your Kentuckys, even like your Auburns and Alabamas, their motivation is to win the national championship, go as far in the NCAA tournament, get some guys healthy. I'm not saying Tennessee's not going to be motivated, but Mississippi State, look what they did yesterday with so little. Josh Hubbard is the only guy who scored points yesterday. He scored 36 points yesterday. Tolu Smith had 8. Shaquille Moore had 8. DJ Jeffries had 6. So guys didn't really contribute offensively yesterday for Mississippi State other than Josh Hubbard. So if you look at that and you look at the optimism around what Chris Jans was talking about, they were playing their best defense yesterday at Mississippi State they have all season. I mean, weird things have happened in March. I mean, we're seeing all across the country. I know Kansas got dropped a 20-piece on them. I know Duke lost the other day. So there are so many factors in these SEC tournaments, the ACC tournaments, and really Mississippi State, yes, Lenardi says they're in the NCAA tournament, but are they really in? I mean, nobody knows until Sunday. So if they win today, Mississippi State's in. So
I put my home on a chopping block that they're in, Mitch. They got to be in. They got to be in.
They have to be, because, I mean, look at their body of work. I know they lost 4 straight coming into the SEC tournament, but they've beaten a really good Tennessee team already. They've beaten Auburn. They took Kentucky to the ropes. They've got several other big wins. Today is such a really, we talked to Chris Jans about this yesterday in the press conference. You could kind of sense that monkey was off the back of them yesterday, where they could go into this and kind of have like an open mind to, okay, like now we can go play with house money. And in tournament play in March, when you're playing with house money and nobody thinks you're going to win, that's a hell of a time to play some college basketball. And that's kind of where I am with this Mississippi State team. And yes, I'm not coming into this game expecting that they're going to blow out Tennessee or anything. But if they were to win, if things started to click, Tolu had his normal 20, Josh Hubbard had his normal 20 to 30, and then you got some big numbers from Jimmy Bell, or you go down low and you look at DJ Jeffries, Shaquille Moore, you get 12, 14 points from Moore. Things can start getting interesting for this Mississippi State team. And really, truthfully, guys, I mean, when you look at Tennessee doesn't like teams that have big physical bigs like a Tolu Smith. They struggle with teams like that because they don't like when Mississippi State punches in the mouth, because, again, Mississippi State has nothing to lose when it comes to.
Well, if Hubbard goes off, they better do what LSU didn't do and double him, because that's the only reason we lost yesterday is we didn't get Hubbard stopped. And when he gets on a roll, he can put 38 up.
Yeah.
So Tennessee's going to have to stop him. He is playing hot basketball right now.
Yeah. Doug, jump in here.
I think they're going to put Santiago Vescovi on him, which, I mean, Vescovi, he's a great defender. He's a great offensive player, but he's not quick enough to guard Josh Hubbard. Josh Hubbard, he gets out in transition, man. He's like a bolt of lightning. He's gone. And same thing with Tolu. Tolu's a big guy, but he can play like a guard. So from a matchup standpoint, this has to be, I've talked to several Tennessee people. If you're Tennessee, this has to be the worst possible matchup for the Volunteers on a Friday afternoon. And same thing with Kentucky and Texas A&M tonight. I think Kentucky is going to end up winning that game. However, Texas A&M is fighting for their life right now. Joe Lunardi's got them as the last 4 in. A&M beats Kentucky tonight. Buzz Williams and them are talking about getting into the NCAA tournament as a lot to get into the NCAA tournament. So there's a lot of moving pieces as we head into this Friday quarterfinal round here in Nashville, Tennessee.
Doug, jump in here. Yeah.
I will jump in. Sorry I had to get delayed, guys. And Frank, we got at least 2 Irish guys on here. How about
Right.
I'm Scotch-Irish.
I've got some Irish. I'm just letting you know I've got some Irish.
Yeah, with a name like Brenden, I would hope you do. And so I will utilize, Rob, if you don't mind, my little bit of tenor voice that I can bring to the show. This is the Clancy brothers. Duffy's gonna love this.
Love it.
Maybe someday I'll go back again to Ireland. If my dear old wife would only pass away. She's nearly got my heart broke with her nagging. She's got a mouth as big as Galway Bay. All right, so
I love it.
Thank God.
Hey!
Let's go, baby.
Doug B. Dean.
Next time I come on, I might have a couple of black eyes if my wife woke up early this morning.
Pat O'Brien's got nothing on you, brother.
Yeah. Speaking of black eyes,
I'll wake you up in the morning.
Not PC, but sometimes I'll tell my wife, listen, I'm going on this hunting trip in Alaska, and that's just how it's going to be. And I didn't see that girl for 3 days. But on the 4th day, Duffy, I could just barely get this right out.
I love that.
And so, seriously, good take there, Mitch. You know what? Let me help my Auburn family. If you think that 40-point blowout on Valentine's Day massacre, which I was at, was able to convince my wife that was a good way to spend Valentine's, and that will bear no resemblance to the fight we're going to have today. I would be shocked if Auburn doesn't have a fight down the wire. And my just watching it so far, these games, and Kentucky and or Alabama are teams, maybe Tennessee, that can shatter this trend line. But right now, the threes are not falling in that arena. You see it so often. You see it in March Madness. The depth perception is different when you go to an arena.
Yep.
Something about it is uncomfortable, or teams just play defense harder and you have more contested shots. But I think I'm going to look for the teams that have the ability to dominate you in the paint, who can defend and guard you in the paint. And there are a couple or 3 of those left. I think Auburn is one of those that loves to play defense. But I would dial back the 3-point shot attempts if the game is close, if you don't just have to lean on that. I don't think, and that's a problem possibly for Alabama. I don't think Alabama is comfortable not shooting a bunch of threes. So that's going to be they might take that trend in Nashville and just destroy it tonight when they play Florida. You never know. But that's something that is a strategic point of view to watch. The teams that are capable of scoring big in the paint, getting to the foul line, possibly have an advantage just because of that arena.
Mitch, and him talking about the sight lines, the depth perception, there's only so many hours of practice you can get in to acclimate to it. But talk about Bridgestone, the fit versus other arenas you've seen this year.
So it's weird, and Doug makes a hell of a point there. I mean, really, truthfully, I didn't even think about that until he started saying that. But when you look at, and I know all of y'all have been at Bridgestone, on one side of it, you've got columns in the end zone that kind of goes up like this, and so it kind of messes with, okay, like how far are you shooting? What are you aiming at? And on the other side, it goes straight up, So it's a very weird thing. And what was so weird yesterday, and I'm still flabbergasted by it. So myself and I and all the Mississippi State media guys, is like 5 or 6 of us here, 7 of us. And we went into Bridgestone to set down our stuff before we got breakfast, whatever. Well, Tennessee removed us from practice with 5 minutes to go on the clock, even though we had been in there for the first 30 minutes or so of practice. So I don't know what that last 5 minutes was going to hold, but what I saw out of Tennessee in their practice was they were missing a lot of shots. Dalton Connect could not figure out kind of the perfect sight line for him to shoot the ball. Again, another advantage for Mississippi State because they played in this already. And we've seen in tournaments past, guys, where teams that play on Friday and they play like, let's say, like a Mississippi State or like a Florida that's going to play tonight against Alabama. Those teams are fully capable of making a run here in Nashville, especially since they've already kind of got that first game underneath their belt. They come into it a lot more loose. We saw it last year with Vanderbilt and Kentucky. Those teams come in here a lot more loose. They come in here a little bit more like, okay, we've already won one. We've been here for a couple more days. So the recipe for chaos today is there for the SEC. And I don't know about y'all, but do y'all ever just get that feeling that just weirdness and craziness and something odd is going to happen? That's the feeling
100%.
I get today. Like
every time I went to Auburn for a football game,
I knew you was going to say that.
Oh, me. Yeah, well, we're going to try to keep it that way. You know, I was thinking, to me, it feels like this game, Auburn, South Carolina today, and we can look at the other games because they're all four are compelling today to me,
they really
as Dave said. But I think there's an all or nothing here for Auburn is the vibe I'm getting. I think if Auburn I think it's going to be tight down to the wire. If Auburn can get by this very motivated South Carolina team that we need to remember, they've only lost, 5 or 6 games all season. So they're a load. And I heard their players say after they got by won their first game that Auburn's not going to be in the jungle this time.
Yes, saw it.
So, but I think Bruce Pearl quietly, he doesn't talk about it a lot. ESPN gave him a gift motivationally. Here Auburn is sitting in the top ranked 13th, Ken Palm 4th. Very deep team, not the most. They don't sport a Dalton Connect, who's in the limelight constantly, but as a total team, you would have you could count on less than one hand the teams that have the quality depth that Bruce is going with this year. So to me, if you get by South Carolina, I'm going to look at Auburn as a serious threat to win the whole thing in Nashville, because then you're facing, right. Let's say you're facing Florida or Alabama. I think away from Coleman Coliseum, Alabama's like a lot of our teams. They're not quite the threat. I think by Saturday, Auburn, there's a lot of Auburn people in Nashville. Auburn will have a decent crowd. So Alabama probably would too. So I think, and who's to say Mississippi State can't play tough, physical, which they're built to do, and get by Tennessee today? I don't think they will, because Tennessee's that good. But is Tennessee's mind really on? They're already at least a 2 seed. Do they really want to play 2 or 3 physical games and risk injury? I don't know. It gets in the back of these players' heads. On the other hand, Bruce, ESPN said Auburn appears, some of their analysts said, Auburn looks overvalued to me in the whatever the rankings are. And maybe they are. We'll find out the next 2 or 3 weeks. But I'm going to stipulate to the court here, if you give me this South Carolina win, Auburn win over South Carolina, I like Auburn to win the whole damn thing, just like 2019.
Well, interestingly, when you talk about the psychology, if you're a Braves fan, the Braves were hot. They won 106 games this past year. And Billy Roberts talked to me about this at length. He said, but when those bats had to sit for a week and the Phillies kept playing, they were on fire. You saw what happened. Mitch, expand on what you alluded to a few minutes ago. I agree. You like to have the hot hand and familiarity. You can go out there and practice it, but it's never the same until it's live.
Yeah, and I think sometimes when you sit all week and you've been watching other teams, you've been in the hotel, you get kind of nervous, you get kind of anxious, and that's something that these teams that have been waiting till Friday, that's something that I worry about with them. Everybody wants to talk about Kentucky or Tennessee. Here's the truth of the matter. Tennessee has only won one conference tournament in 30 years. No matter how good they are, they've only won one SEC tournament since 1979. Kentucky has not won a conference tournament since 2018. So those two teams right there, yes, they're the best teams in the conference right now, and I would not bet against them if I had to. However, there's a lot of history as to what we're saying here, because yes, Kentucky's really good. Yes, Tennessee's really good, but are they at that level where they were in when was Tennessee's last conference tournament? 2019, I think. 2021, 2019, something like that. Is Kentucky as good as they were back in 2018 when they had Kevin Knox and Malik Monk in them? Nobody really knows. And so this is a very weird SEC tournament where it just has this weird vibe to it because there hasn't been a major upset yet. But now you've got all the big dogs left. You got the top 8 teams, and to me, the top 8 teams in the SEC are left. And now it comes down to punching people in the mouth, not afraid to take a charge, not afraid to take a block, not afraid to catch one on the jaw. It comes down to nitty gritty basketball, and that's why I come back to Auburn, come back to Mississippi State, Florida in these situations because those 3 teams, man, they can play physical with anybody. They can go toe to toe with anybody. If this Mississippi State Tennessee game is a low scoring affair where it's 55-50, 60 to 55, something like that, the advantage is at Mississippi State. They got to come out and they got to play defense. They can't let Dalton Connect get hot. And same thing with Auburn and South Carolina. This is going to be a very physical day of SEC basketball where they're going to separate the men for the boys. I mean, this is where the road meets the rubber here. I mean, this is big league SEC basketball. So that's just kind of where I'm at a little bit. I'm not predicting Mississippi State to win. I'm just putting that out there to say, hey, like this is a very real possibility that if Tennessee doesn't play the way that they're capable of playing, that Mississippi State will come away with this with a win. And then looking at that next matchup against either South Carolina or Auburn, again, you got to like your chances if you're Mississippi State.
Well, I'm going to throw one to Doug. The last time Auburn won the SEC tournament was the St. Patrick's Day Massacre in 2019. I remember it well.
Over Tennessee.
Yeah, over Tennessee. But they haven't won a conference game in the tournament since then. That's a weird stat.
And they've had a couple of teams that were awfully good. That Walker Kessler and Jabari Smith team. It was that A&M that got us that year.
Yes.
And A&M almost runs it all the way to the championship. I think Alabama took them out in the championship game. And then the NCAA selection committee screwed the Aggies that year.
Yeah, that was horrible.
I hope that's in the back of their mind, this highly unbiased committee that, they don't notice the logo and if it looks like blue blood or not when they're doing the seedings and the bubble teams. I guess, like Dave or someone was saying earlier, if you're a bubble team, there's a sense in which you only have yourself to blame if you don't get selected, but it still stings. And I think A&M's already in. I sure hope they are because they've, and sorry about your LSU team, Frankie, y'all were like the metaphor I'll give you on LSU, and I think they laid a great foundation this year that they can build on. Just go get players, which is a lot easier and quicker in basketball, right, than football. But it's like a big pot of jambalaya on game day, and there's one guy. He had one job, Duffy, and that was to bring enough of that propane fuel to heat the big cast iron pot. And so you get all that good stuff, shrimp going, and everything's looking good. You've got that shovel, you're stirring it. And it needs about another hour, and the propane runs out, and you're sitting there saying, "Do I take a chance on this half raw shrimp or not?" And that was so the fading down the stretch had to be frustrating for LSU fans because it looked for all the world like they were going to really figure it out and maybe come into Nashville and win the whole thing and sneak in.
Well, we talked about that, Doug, early in the show, and I said the exact same thing. I could see it even kind of, waning a little bit in that Missouri game, how we let them get, we were down, had a big lead, 18-point lead, and then let them come back to where we barely squeaked it out by a couple of points. I was like, that's not the mojo you want going into this. So, look, I'm happy with the results. We're trending in the right direction. We might have a good run in the NIT. I hope we win a game there. But I agree with you. We were a tough team to play the last 7 or 8 games this season, and that's something to build on going forward.
Yeah.
By the way,
I'm sorry.
By the way, I'm just going to say, I think chalk holds today, with the exception of Florida beating Alabama. I think Florida takes Alabama out. I think that game they played in Tuscaloosa, they should have won that ball game. They let that one get away. I think on a neutral court, I think Florida beats Alabama, but I think Auburn, to your point, and you were talking about the Jabari Smith team, Auburn has had better singular talent in the last 7 or 8 years, but I don't think Auburn has had a better team than they've got this year.
I agree.
1 to 8. I think this is one of Bruce Pearl's best coaching jobs and best teams. And I'm telling you what, if Auburn gets past South Carolina, I look for them to be in that championship game.
Yeah, I agree. Mitch, I know you got – I'm going to let Mitch go, Doug. He's got to get to a press conference. But, Mitch, great stuff. And then I want to go back to you, Doug. I apologize. I didn't mean to cut you off. But I know you've got to get to a press conference. But one thing I will say, at media days and all that, Media Row, the Wi-Fi, it is a nightmare. Staying at the Grand Hyatt last year, I'm talking to Bill Hancock from the head of the CFP, and thunder and lightning is flashing, and we're all in our different hotel rooms. I couldn't believe we made it. I mean, it was duct taped together, but that is something that needs to be addressed. Absolutely agree. That's why I didn't come, because of that, because I've had too much of that happen. I got too much invested in this, and you've made it work. But close out with a couple of comments, then let people know how they can follow you, and then we'll continue this great discussion.
Guys, I appreciate y'all having me on. TheMitchDavisShow.com, Mitch Davis _8 on Twitter. And the podcast is on literally Apple and SoundCloud, all those podcast places. And I'll be here in Nashville till Sunday, even if Mississippi State gets beat. So it's going to be a fun weekend. I'm excited about a great weekend of basketball. I've been here since Wednesday morning at around 10 a.m. A little tired, running on no sleep, but hey, that's okay. Y'all have a great day. Hail State. I hope to talk to y'all soon.
And look, get you on with Kevin Skarbinski Monday morning to wrap up what you saw on the weekend, talk about Selection Sunday. Mitch, be careful. I will call you later today, okay?
Thanks, guys. Hail State.
Yeah, I love it. Hey, Doug, go. I did not mean to cut you off. You were making great comments. And I tell you, Frank, I agree with you. 1 through 11. Now, the Berminator, Leor Berman, who will be a future coach, in my opinion. I don't know what his degree is going to be in. He's going to be a coach. But Doug, carry on.
Yeah, well, what I was going to say to Duff, and I'm probably fudging a little if you went team by team, but because of all the automatic berths from some of these lower tier.
Yeah.
Nothing. I mean, for all I know, Will Wade will take McNeese farther than if FAU can do it last year, why not? But there's a sense in which, Frank, if LSU's the barely outside the field of 68, and maybe they are, then by going to the NIT, to me, it probably means you're performing overall like about a top 30 to 35 basketball team. And that would take some analytics. But the point is, this was a great foundational year that I think because of who LSU is, the recruiting base, y'all are going to be competing at a high level.
Did we lose him?
He's back.
We lost you, Doug. But I would agree. I think what you were saying is, it's a building block to go forward. And yes, we do recruit well. I'm very ebullient over the fact that this change over in from Will Wade to Mac has taken so little time to get to where we're functionally playing well. I think that's the most important thing from this, that the decompression time from an absolute disaster and collapse to having no one on the team, 0 players, to what he's built as quickly as he has, I think is a great sign.
Yeah.
I'm disappointed with the performance yesterday. I would have thought they would have blown Missouri out. So did my wallet. So that one hurt a little bit. But I think if we can get a game or 2 under our belt in the NIT, perform admirably, do some recruiting, I think we'll be in good shape next year. Not to make a run to win the conference, but to hopefully break into that upper 16 level. That's, I think, what the goal should be for the program next year.
That gets you in the big show. And, back to Auburn. We still got a minute, Rob?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So the best, and I think this was the great Justin Ferguson at Auburn Observer who made this comment. There's been a lot of concern among Auburn people and some of the national analysts, and rightly so to a point, about Auburn's young guards. Trey Donaldson's been there a year, and people forget, but his three-point shots in Birmingham to beat Iowa was a big key to Auburn winning that round one game a year ago. The five-star Aiden Holloway has had difficulty scoring. He's got the green light from Bruce to take shots. So let's say we're down 20 or 30% with guard play. But I'll tell you what we're up on with guard play. The number of great assists they're making and limiting turnovers is better than a year ago. And then what you've got in the paint with the 5 Browne and 4 Jalen Williams position, it is vastly better than it was performing a year ago. So I agree totally with your take, Frank. You're not seeing an elite player with the possible exception of Janai Browne, but what you're seeing is a team that really loves each other. They have all bought into playing an average 20 minutes a game, and it's the joy, the fun is in the winning, not in individual results.
Yeah. And where it's showing up, Doug, I think when I've watched Auburn play is on the defensive side. That's where it's really shown up. Auburn's a tough defensive team, and South Carolina's going to find that out today.
Well, it is one thing. There's a couple of questions about Auburn. Are they a team, 2 different teams, a home team at the Jungle and a different team on the road? But I think Auburn won 5 road games this year.
Yeah, that narrative was true the first half of the season. But if you look at it now, Auburn's in one of the top 3 or so SEC teams in road wins, and that can be misleading. Auburn certainly had a couple of stinkers on the road. Had a chance to beat Tennessee on the road. And woulda, shoulda. But to me, the most disappointing game was going to Mississippi State, and they just wore us out on the glass. But that will happen sometimes.
I want to throw 2 stats at both of y'all. One of them is the thing about Auburn. They have 11 players, 10 right now, but they don't mind 15, 20 minutes. And you'll actually see a lot of times in the games where a player is supposed to take another player's role, and one of those players will tell Pearl, no, let him stay. He's on a roll. That's unselfishness. That's huge. 2 other things. Pat Bradley, the shooter. I really love this lineup of Damian Fishback, Ron Slay, and Pat Bradley when Dari Noka's hosting. They got great chemistry. The shooter talked about Clayton, one of Florida's guards. He had 2 stats on his threes. He's 41% when it's a catch and shoot. He's about 25% when he has, as Pat Bradley said, the ball hits the deck, he bounces it, and then shoots it. Interesting stat. And number 2, Doug Dean, you put this in the AU dose. Incredible research. This is like reading something on a M&A deal. It's your stats are incredible. There are 4 schools in America that are in the top 4 in defense and offense on all these stats that all these eggheads put together that are really cool. But those 4 teams are Arizona, UConn, Houston, and Auburn. Interesting stats. And you can start tracking the data. It's like looking at a 200-day moving average on a stock. All of a sudden, it might dip a little bit. You get that dead cat bounce. But I'll talk about those stats. Doug, Frank, I want to hear more about that. I love these stats.
Tell me again, which stat in particular?
The top 4 in offense and defense and the Ken Pom stats and all that.
Yeah.
Sorry, I did not expand more.
We probably, in addition to probably all 3 of us who have some nerd in us with some of these analytics, I suspect people that wake up to listen to a whole hour of this they're getting their geek on too. So let me assist them in that. There you go. There are 2 graphics. I emailed them to you, Duffy, and for my Daily Dose newsletter that are, to me, are profound and interesting because of the team logos out of all the 68 teams that will be selected, but they graph by quadrants the pace of play and net rating. And this is a measure of Are they balanced? Can they stop you defensively and score at a high rate? And there's at the top of the upper left and right quadrant, there is a trapezoid. If you remember that from geometry, and it's called
nightmares.
The trapezoid of excellence. And inside that on the graph, there are only, it reads like the top 5 or 6 seeded teams, and you see not surprisingly Purdue, UConn. Way at the bottom of it, even Duke, who had a miserable outing yesterday, got knocked off by a mediocre NC State team. But you see on the upper, the highest rated team in this trapezoid is Auburn. And the reason is they're one of that rare form of team in a tough league. So the numbers should matter. They're not, not fake math.
They're not hollow.
The analytics love this Auburn team. That does not guarantee you a thing this afternoon, nor in March, because if you run into a team that's hot, sometimes there's nothing you can do about it. But what it means is Auburn is in the top 12 or so in both offensive and defensive efficiency. So
that's why their transition game is so good. They're good at defense to kick it out, to get it out there. And Doug, I'll tell you, I know we were talking about how they play at home, how they do on the road, but I think that's negated in a neutral site like a tournament. And we all know defense travels well. And I think that's why Auburn has the good shot to win this thing.
Look, there is no doubt about it that I am falling prey. We all do it. I'm falling prey to homerism. And probably some confirmation bias. I want Auburn to break through to today and maybe going into the weekend. But if they don't, they're going to get at least – that might drop them to a 5 seed because the committee doesn't have a natural-born bias in favor of Auburn and probably most SEC teams not named Kentucky. But even as a 5 seed, your probabilities suffer going from 3 to 4 line over the years. But you got to look – like, I don't care who we play round 1, line them up. If our goal is to make the Final Four, eventually we're facing them anyway.
Yeah, sure. All right, let's do this. Brenden wants to get Brenden. Speaking of Brenden, Michael J. Brennan is listening right now. A really good friend of mine. What about an Irish Catholic? One of 8 kids, I might add. But let's get y'all's picks on these games. And Brenden will put the graphics up. I know yesterday we put the graphics up. I had Florida over Georgia, Mississippi State to win over LSU, and South Carolina to beat Arkansas. I can't remember what I picked in Ole Miss and A&M, but I'll start with you, Frank, first on these picks.
Tennessee, Kentucky, and Auburn in surprisingly easy games. You might have a little issue with Kentucky and Texas A&M. I'm not buying the hype. I love Mitch, but I'm not buying the hype on Mississippi State. We had them by 7 at halftime. We should have won the ball game. I like Tennessee to cruise in this. I love Auburn. I think Auburn beats South Carolina handily. The game that I would take if I was wanting to take the points or taking the money line is I love Florida against Alabama. I think that's the game that's going to give you your most bang for the buck today, taking the money line on Florida.
Doug Dean, the Irishman.
Frank is, you know how they do on the ESPN and SEC networks. One of us has to be the contrarian. Frank made the smart picks, to a degree chalk. I'm going to be the contrarian, and I really do. I'm picking a couple of shockers. Well, one shocker. I think because they've had a tune-up game, Mississippi State, and I think because Dalton cannot help himself shooting a high volume of threes. Talked about it earlier. This arena is causing problems to shooters from deep. I think Mississippi State is built to play that physical game in the paint, and they find a way to pull the clear shocker of Tennessee today. I think Auburn is going to fight for their lives, possibly finally have to win a game by single digits against a South Carolina team that's going to be highly motivated after that Valentine's Day massacre. I think Texas A&M battles it with like 10 minutes left, and then Kentucky's just too much. But do keep an eye on Kentucky. Do they get led, Frank, by that siren into the rocks? That you like that? And in trying to take too many threes. Kentucky loves to put up the threes, and they've been great at it. But I think it's the wrong arena to overdo that. And then lastly, I want to be fair to Alabama because they're the highest, they're a one-seeded team in Nashville. But Alabama has not shown me enough the last couple or 3 games, whereas Florida has had a tune-up game. They know that arena. I think it's going to be a tight game. May go to overtime again, but or go to overtime like Alabama did with Arkansas. But I like Florida in that one. Then I like if it goes like that, Auburn and Kentucky in the championship game.
Yeah. Well, the one I like that the siren led into the rocks from "Oh Brother, Where Art Thou." I think that wake up, little baby, in the morning. That was, oh boy, if I could find sirens like that at every trout stream I hit, I'd be hollering a lot.
If you make me pick for Sunday, since you won't be on air next week, then I got to give it to Kentucky because that arena is going to be packed with Big Blue Nation.
Well, Doug, the psychology of this, both of y'all have taken all this stuff and really channeled it in the right direction. And I think you're right. It's just, you're going to do what you know. And you talked about Kentucky taking too many threes. That's just what they do. They score a lot of points. Dillingham and Shepard could be 2 of the top 5 picks in the draft. Dalton Connect's picked at about 13. We're going to pay attention to what Mitch said. Dalton Connect was really struggling to grasp that. I was in Bridgestone back at Media Days, and we were there for a big party, and I've been there before, but he's right. Those big cavernous arenas, and they're just different, and you gotta Mississippi State's got a game under their belt. That carries a lot of weight.
Let me tell you, if Mississippi State does upset them or even makes it close, it will cost Tennessee a number 1 seed. You watch.
Yeah, it will. Yeah. And you know what? It's amazing to me, but people that are trying to break down these teams, they have an amazing dexterity for missing the point. We are not playing true road games at this point. To a degree, if you argue with me that Nashville will be a Kentucky home game, it may be. It's closer to that than it is, but it's not a true home game where they're used to the arena and shooting there. And they might, 50 or 60% of the arena, but no matter who Kentucky plays, there's going to be other fans there. And no matter if they're, the team you're playing against, all the other, you better believe everybody would be cheering against Kentucky, Kentucky fans. So I think the fact that neutral, if you want to say Auburn doesn't do as well on the road, which is not supported by the data at this point, that's fair to say, but it's not a road game in the first place.
Well, think about this. Auburn, there are 24 victories this year, every one of them by double digits. First time that's happened in program history. Number 2, from what I'm being told, Kentucky, Catville, Catlanta, that narrative, that's an old narrative. Auburn's bringing a ton. Alabama will. These other schools have and Nashville is not Atlanta, and they don't want to be Atlanta. They don't want to be that big. My friends up in Nashville, they're like, we got to have controlled growth. My recommendation, do it like Charlotte, where I was about a month ago. My wife, having lived in Atlanta, done the hour-and-a-half commutes every day to work each way. Controlled growth. I really think, Doug, you're right. I think there are a ton, there are thousands of Auburn alumni. Honestly, in East Memphis and Collierville and Germantown, on a lot of days, you're going to see more Auburn and Alabama stickers on cars in East Memphis and Collierville and Germantown than you will out Tennessee. I know that sounds crazy, but Tennessee, look, there's a lot of fan bases in Nashville. And Doug, you're right. And Auburn, to win 5 games on the road in this conference is a hell of a mark. They got blown out at Florida, but I think that was the only time. Auburn lost by 4 at Bama, 5 at the hump in Starkville. Tell me Tennessee by 4, and that game went down to the last few minutes. That translates to, in a neutral site, Auburn probably would have been 8-1 on the road.
Yeah, you know what else is, if you want to come with me inside, don't pick
come with me.
That's years, not of me, ugly place to go, but of these players themselves, and to an extent, even coaches.
Okay.
Coaches won't tell you, I'm not really motivated to try to play 4 games and win in Nashville. Now, some of the teams, that's their only chance at March Madness. But, we talk about it every year in bowl games. Who wants to be there? That's a good betting criteria. And I think to an extent, there could be one of these teams that's already long since made the big show. But you ask yourself, when it really push comes to shove, which of these remaining teams really, really want to be there and want to get to Sunday and win it all? How much does it hang that banner in your arena versus being rested and getting ready for March Madness?
Yeah, look, we're going to wrap it up now, and we lost Frank, but incredible insight, Doug. I know you got tied up, but awesome. I'm looking forward to the text that we have during the games. I love these texts that our group has. A lot going on. Hey, look, folks, most often we see the face of Christ in the least among us. Go out and help people. We're all blessed in so many ways we can't count them. Go out and help other people. Appreciate all of our listeners, our viewers, our incredible sponsors. Go out and support all of our sponsors. Great folks like rumbleboxinggym.com on Union Avenue, Midtown Memphis, Web-Footed Kennels, you name it, The Vitamin Shop, House Industries, Red River Ford Toyota. Bottom line, this show, we're here to serve, here to get information out to you. Doug, incredible stuff. I read everything you get, every single page of it. We'll be back on. Monday's going to be a fun show. Hopefully you can be back on with us earlier in the week. But until then, smash the subscribe button in the bottom right-hand corner for YouTube. I'll hit allow notifications on your Android or your iPhone. But Doug Dean, Frank Duffy, Dave Tompkins, Mitch Davis, Brenden Martin, everybody, thank you so much. We will be back to Monday. Until then, have a great weekend. Happy St. Patrick's Day.
See you guys.
In a perfect world, you'd set a health goal and results would happen overnight. In this world, the real world, it takes time, dedication, and the right support to achieve your best self. The Vitamin Shop's health enthusiasts are here to make sure you're not wasting a single moment on the wrong supplements. From the highest quality sports nutrition and superfoods to the most sought after trends, you'll find a huge variety of science-backed solutions for every goal. And the people to help guide you along the path to greatness.
Unbelievably, every 2 minutes in our communities, a child is either bought or sold for sex. I am Ari Dickey, board member for the Nashville Anti-Human Trafficking Coalition. Join me and millions of others in our fight against human trafficking and for its victims by helping to educate the most vulnerable among us, our middle and high school students. Go to nhtcoalition.org, become a partner, and help keep our families safe, because none of God's children are for sale.